It's now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline, our good friend Mark Durrant. Mark, it's been way too long. I know we saw you last night, but there's just something about reuniting on BYU Sports Nation that feels right.
It always feels like coming home when you have me on. I think you're doing a disservice to the fans when you don't have me on, to be honest with you. And so I think it's a smart move on your part. And I'm wondering if I can get a part-time hire for just a week next week, and I can come down to San Diego with you guys. That sounds pretty nice.
Most of the time we're here in Studio B. You get to get out on the road, so this is our one time to shine, Kay. Don't try and steal the limelight.
I would feel bad for you, Mark, but you get to make trips to San Diego and Los Angeles and Malibu to cover basketball.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Well, the difference is I'm kind of a big deal. I don't know if you knew that.
I heard that you have many leather-bound books and your house smells of rich mahogany. True or false?
All true.
True. Yes, okay. Baxter, bark twice if you're in Milwaukee. Mark Durrant with us on BYU Sports Nation. Now, let's start with the most important question of the day. If you were to compare Jeremy and myself to a famous duo, who would it be?
Wow. I'm a bit of a TV connoisseur, so I'm going to go the TV route.
Okay.
And the initial thing, the duo I thought was Starsky and Hutch.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought to myself, Starsky and Hutch are way too cool. So then my mind goes to like a Lenny and Squiggy.
A Lenny is who?
Now Laverne and see, you guys even know, you young punks. Laverne and Shirley. Lenny and Squiggy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But they're a little too on the other end of the extreme, even for you guys. And so I thought the right fit was maybe a Norm and a Cliff from Cheers, who everybody loves, but they come across as kind of know-it-alls. So I think that's the right fit.
Yeah, Studio B is where everyone knows your name. So it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yes, nicely played. Okay, we'll go with it.
All right.
You've passed the test, Mark.
Let's talk about more relevant topics to the audience. BYU beat Weber State last night, but we talked about it feels like there are things at play that are bigger than just the Weber State game. What do you think of the current state of BYU hoops through 9 games so far?
Yeah, I mean, that Weber State game was much needed. It felt like getting a pair of underwear for Christmas. You know, it's not a great gift, but you needed it, and so you kind of say, "Oh, thanks. Gee, that's great, Mom and Dad." But listen, that was an important win. I watch this team right now, and they're just kind of grinding it. They're trying to figure it out, and it's not really coming together. But they just willed themselves to a win last night. Just pounded it in, did what they needed to do, played hard, got it done. But it doesn't look to me like it's really clicking. They don't look like they're having a lot of fun. A couple plays, those alley-oops are always fun and things, but it was a hard-fought, a little bit ugly game, and I think that's just kind of where they're at. They're trying to figure things out, guys, and people are finding their roles, and the expectations for certain players are maybe not being met, and other players are exceeding expectations, and the team's not what I thought it would be to start the season. But I give them credit. They're fighting. This team's got a lot of fight. You saw it last night, and they're finding ways to get things done. And I think it may be a little bit more of that, but my hope is, and I feel it, that this team is, although there's some flaws, they're fixable, and with time and experience, they'll get much better, and it will look a lot better. But now they're just really struggling and trying to get it done in other ways and working hard, and it's not necessarily pretty, but that's where they're at this point.
What is the biggest strength of this BYU basketball team right now?
Well, the biggest strength is probably Mika's strength. I mean, he's just like a force of nature in there right now, a tornado. I spent some time in the Midwest, and those tornadoes, they just, whatever's in their way, they just mow over and destroy, and that's kind of Eric Mika when he gets the ball. He looks like a man amongst boys out there, and he's just so strong. I give him a lot of credit. I think he's worked hard in the weight room, and he spent a lot of time on his free throws, which has been so important because he's getting fouled so much and shooting about 80%. That's a real benefit to the team. And just those two things show me he's been working hard. And He got a lot of assists last night. I think the answer, at least right now, is he's got to touch the ball every time down, and he's got to be who makes the decisions on offense. And if he wants to kick it out to a guard to shoot a three, that's great. If he wants to take it, that's great. And with him on the floor, it makes Kyle Davis better, Yoli Childs better, because some teams have to focus so much on him, and they're having nice years. And so I think clearly, I mean, it's hard to imagine saying anything else for the strength of the team other than Eric Mika and what he's been able to do for this team.
Dave Rose expressed some concern about the confidence of the guards last night. I never thought that would be an issue, especially with this group. What kind of level of concern do you have about the guard play so far?
I'm really concerned. I mean, coming in, if you'd asked me that, what is the strength of this team question, it would have been the guard line and three-point shooting. I'm stunned that they are having such a hard time with it. I can't believe that it's a long-term thing. I've seen TJ and Nick and others play enough to know how good they are. So I think it's a little bit of just a valley for them, and the confidence is low. I mean, I can't really speak to this as knowledge because I was never a great shooter, but my observing great shooters is it so much relies on confidence and just feeling like, man, I am good. I'm going to hit this shot. You can't stop me type attitude. And you see those guys out right now, and they're passing up good looks, and they just don't seem to be confident and kind of shooting it and say, oh, please, please, please go in, rather than, oh, this is in, man. You can't guard me, and running back down the floor before they even hits the hoop, you know, that type of Steph Curry type attitude. And they just don't have it. And not only in the games, I watch them in the shoot-arounds in the practice, and it's just not a feeling I get of confidence. And the amazing thing about it all is, guys, is confidence is so fickle, it can come back almost overnight. You know, if you hit a couple shots, then it's all of a sudden back and you're a whole new player. I hope maybe it's not going to be that dramatic for these guys, but I'm confident that it will happen. And once they do, if you can get even a semblance of an outside game with that inside game, that's when this team is really good. And that's why people expected so much, because they thought that was going to happen. It's just not happening right now, but it certainly can happen, hopefully sooner rather than later.
BYU at 6-3 with Colorado, a team that just upset Xavier, the 13th ranked team in the country last night, coming to the Marriott Center in Provo on Saturday. Do you view Saturday's game as a must-win for BYU's at-large NCAA tournament hopes?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know it's early, but with St. Mary's and Gonzaga, I think they're almost a shoo-in at this point to get in the tournament. And I don't know that people will be eager to get a third West Coast Conference team in unless it's just undebatable. And I think BYU's that team. With the loss to UVU, although they're a much better team than people thought, it was just a devastating loss. And you need marquee wins. I think they have to get both Colorado and Illinois to have any at-large type of hopes. Maybe you can somehow sweep Gonzaga or St. Mary's, and so you make a claim for it in that respect. I don't know that that's going to happen. And so to have any hope other than a conference championship in the tournament, you need to get these next couple of marquee wins. Or, I don't know what claim you make to being an at-large team if you haven't really beaten anybody, and then you have some of these bad losses on your record. So that I think it is, as far as NCAA tournament at large, absolutely a must-win.
The pressure being put on BYU too is interesting because it's not just internal; it's almost external from St. Mary's and Gonzaga too. We have waited for the Lone Pick 3. Here they are. They're young, but now St. Mary's and Gonzaga look like they may have their best teams ever. We'll see. What kind of pressure do you think that's playing, if at all, on kind of this season as a whole as we kind of get into it here?
I think Dave Rose feels it. I mean, he's been in West Coast Conference a while now and hasn't won it. And obviously Gonzaga is probably maybe the premier program out west in the last 15 years. And I watched them play in that earlier game against Arizona, and they are so good. They are so good. Karnowski was just dominant, and they got great guards. They destroyed Washington last night. They got that rolling, and that Coach Few is now that's kind of the destination point for any really good transfer. That's where they go. They know they can succeed there and get in the NBA. So it's tough when you have such a juggernaut. It's hard to dethrone that type of team. St. Mary's, I'm not a big fan of Coach Bennett, but he does the job, man. I don't know how he does it. But I mean, if you've been to the campus there in the facilities, you're like scratching your head. But they got the Australian connection, and they're getting it done. So I mean, I think Dave Rose feels the pressure. BYU feels the pressure, and we've been talking for 5 years now, 10 years about, boy, when we get this team together, that's when Gonzaga goes down, you know, and it doesn't look like that for this year, but maybe in the future that can happen. But so I think that's kind of where the pressure and the disappointment comes in is, man, we finally got the guys we want, and we're still not going to be able to do it. But maybe they can. I mean, I'm not throwing in the towel. BYU's beaten Gonzaga up there last couple of years, but that was an impressive-looking team that I saw on Saturday.
Fantastic stuff from Mark Durrant, former BYU hoopster, current radio analyst. Let's finish with this, Mark. Just tell me, bigger concern right now, Eric Mika says he's keeping his mustache until BYU wins a conference championship, or BYU's three-point struggles?
Well, they're both pretty horrifying, to be honest with you, but at least Eric Mika's got the blonde mustache, so it's hard to see. But I worry more about Peyton Dastrup or Jerem trying to grow another mustache.
Totally valid concerns. Mark, we always appreciate the time, my friend.
Hey, thanks, guys. You're the best.
You got it. Mark Durrant on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.
I love Mark, man.